All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am VC Pramod and with me is Tanvi Khurana. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says multiple benefits of clean energy should reach agriculture sector. Releases roadmap for development of ethanol sector. Income Tax Department to launch its new e-filing portal www.incometax.gov.in tomorrow. India achieves a major landmark in vaccination against COVID-19. More than 23 crore doses administered. Himachal Pradesh government cancels 10+2 HP board exams. Government issues one last notice to Twitter to comply with new IT rules. Monsoon arrives in Maharashtra. IMD says conditions favorable for its further advancement. Global Terror Funding Watchdog FATF retains Pakistan on enhanced follow-up list. India calls for strong and aligned international cooperation to combat challenge of fugitive economic offenders and assets. G7 countries reach a landmark deal to back global minimum tax of 15% on multinational companies. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer enter fourth round at French Open. In the wake of COVID-19, we appeal to our listeners not to lower their guard and stay safe and protected by following these 4 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene, and get vaccinated. For providing COVID-related information and guidelines to people, national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075 are operational. And now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said multiple benefits of clean energy have to reach the agriculture sector of India. The Prime Minister was addressing an event on the occasion of World Environment Day. On the occasion, the Prime Minister released a report of the Expert Committee on Roadmap for Ethanol Blending in India 2020 to 2025. He also launched a pilot project of E100 dispensing stations at 3 locations in Pune. Mr. Modi said ethanol has become a priority today to maintain healthy environment. The Prime Minister said the government is focusing on the production and usage of ethanol for agricultural use. Food grain waste distilleries are being set up using modern technology across the nation. The Prime Minister stated that India ranks among the 10 top nations in the Climate Change Performance Index. He said India is paving the way for energy transition for the future.
जलवायु परिवर्तन के खतरे से निपटने के लिए जो वैश्विक प्रयास चल रहे हैं उनमें भारत एक आशा की किरण बनकर के उभरा है। एक विश्वस्त मानव जात के कल्याण के लिए एक विश्वस्त साथी के रूप में आज भारत ने अपनी पहचान बनाई है। जो दुनिया कभी भारत को एक चुनौती के रूप में देखती थी, क्लाइमेट चेंज, भारत की इतनी बड़ी आबादी, लोगों को लगता है संकट यहीं से आएगा। आज स्थिति बदल गई। आज हमारा देश क्लाइमेट जस्टिस का अगुवा बनकर उभर रहा है.
Mr. Modi said solar power generation has been increased by 15% in the recent years. He said the government is making a hybrid energy power plant in the Kutch region of Gujarat. People are adopting new ways to eliminate single-use plastic and LED bulbs dominate every household. The Prime Minister said India is moving ahead with a mega global vision, be it the International Solar Alliance, realizing the vision of one sun, one world, one grid, or the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure Initiative. Mr. Modi said garbage and agricultural scrap are being converted to produce energy for farmers.
घरों और खेतों से निकला कचरा हो, स्क्रैप मेटल हो, लिथियम आयन बैटरीज हो, ऐसे अनेक क्षेत्रों में रिसाइकलिंग को नई टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से प्रोत्साहित किया जा रहा है. इससे जुड़ा एक्शन प्लान जिसमें रेगुलेटरी और डेवलपमेंट से जुड़े सभी पहलू होंगे, इसको आने वाले महीनों में अमल में लाया जाएगा.
Mr. Modi said new investment opportunities and job opportunities are opening up with the development of hybrid and electric vehicles. The Prime Minister also interacted with farmers from various parts of the country. Speaking on the occasion, Environment Minister Prakash Zavadekar said, "Every day is Environment Day for India." He said trees, animals and birds have always been revered in India. Mr. Zavadekar said India is one of the few countries where forest cover has actually increased in the last decade. He said the forest and tree cover in the country has reached 24.56% of the geographical area, which is spread over 8 lakh square kilometers.
Income Tax Department will launch its new e-filing portal www.incometax.gov.in tomorrow. The new e-filing portal is aimed at providing convenience and a modern, seamless experience to the taxpayers. Finance Ministry said the new taxpayer-friendly portal integrated with immediate processing of income tax returns and quick refunds to the taxpayers. All interactions and uploads or pending actions will be displayed on a single dashboard for the follow-up action by the taxpayer. It said, free-of-cost ITR preparation software is available with interactive questions to help the taxpayers. The ministry said taxpayers will be able to proactively update their profile to provide certain details of income, including salary, house property and profession, which will be used in pre-filing their ITR. The Finance Ministry said the new tax payment system will be launched on 18th of June after the advance tax installment date to avoid any taxpayer inconvenience. The mobile app will also be released subsequently to the initial launch of the portal to enable taxpayers to get familiar with the various features. India has crossed a major landmark in vaccination against COVID-19. More than 23 crore cumulative vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far. Health Ministry said more than 31,20,000 vaccine doses were administered yesterday, out of which more than 28,70,000 beneficiaries were vaccinated for the first dose and more than 2,49,000 beneficiaries received the second dose. More than 16,19,000 beneficiaries of the age group 18 to 44 years received their first dose of the COVID vaccine yesterday, and more than 41,000 beneficiaries of the same age group received their second dose. Cumulatively, over 2 crore 76 lakh persons across 37 states and union territories have received the vaccine doses since the start of Phase 3 of the vaccination drive.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has given instructions to continue effective measures against COVID-19 in the state. He said that the policy of trace, test and treat of the state government is proving to be very useful in the control of corona infection. The Chief Minister was reviewing the situation of COVID-19 in the state in a high-level meeting at Lucknow yesterday. He said that due to this policy of government, the positivity rate of corona infection is decreasing and the recovery rate is increasing continuously in the state. More from our Lucknow correspondent.
According to Health Department reports, 1,092 new cases of COVID infection have come to light in the state during the last 24 hours, and during the same period, 4,346 infected persons were recovered and discharged. The recovery rate of COVID-19 has increased to 97.6%. The active cases of COVID has also decreased to 19,438. The highest number of active cases of corona infection in the state was 3,10,783 on April 30, which was decreased by around 94%. There is also a continuous decrease in the positivity rate of corona infection in the state, which has reached 0.4% in the last 24 hours. MS Yadav, Area News, Lucknow.
Gujarat has recorded 996 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday. 3,004 patients recovered during the last 24 hours and were discharged from the hospitals. More from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
New cases of COVID-19 infections fell below 1,000 for the first time during the last 3 months. Total 7,85,378 patients have been recovered from COVID-19 in Gujarat till now. The recovery rate further improved and reached up to 96.32%. Maximum 142 new cases reported from Ahmedabad, while Vadodara recorded 132 new cases. 15 patients lost their lives yesterday. Gujarat has now 20,087 active cases at present, out of which 382 patients are on ventilator. Meanwhile, 2,63,507 persons have been vaccinated in the state yesterday. Out of these, nearly 2 lakh were from 18 to 44 years age group. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
Maharashtra's recovery rate has improved to 95% for the first time after 3 months, and daily new cases are also declining, and the lowest 13,659 new cases were registered yesterday after 3 months. A report from our Mumbai correspondent.
Due to strict restrictions and various measures including aggressive vaccination drive and increased awareness about COVID-appropriate behavior, COVID-19 situation in Maharashtra is improving. The recovery rate has improved for the first time after 3 months, and the lowest number of new cases was registered yesterday. At present, the number of active patients in the state has lowered to 1,88,027. The case fatality rate in the state stands at 1.71%. The lowest number of patients like yesterday was registered on March 10, 2021. Since then, there was steep rise in number of patients every day. But due to strict restrictions, the number of daily cases as well as active caseload could be controlled. Shailesh Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
Bihar government has given an ex gratia of 4 lakh rupees to the next of the kin of 3,727 persons who died due to COVID in the state. This ex gratia is being given under Chief Minister Relief Fund. Health Minister Mangal Pandey said 5,340 people have so far died due to COVID in the state so far. Mr. Pandey said DMs of all the districts have been instructed to furnish the details about those persons who died due to COVID infection in the state. Meanwhile, Bihar is witnessing a sharp decline in fresh COVID cases. The state's recovery rate has risen to 98%, while the test positivity rate has declined to below 1%, and it is 0.88%. Over 6,97,229 people have so far recovered from the infection. 1,007 fresh COVID cases were reported in the state during the last 24 hours, and 1,667 people were recovered yesterday. Over 1,10,43,000 people have been vaccinated in the state so far.
Himachal Pradesh government has decided to extend the ongoing COVID-19 curfew till the 14th of this month, with existing restrictions and exemptions. State Cabinet, chaired by Chief Minister Jairam Thakur, took the decision yesterday while reviewing the COVID-19 situation. The Cabinet has also decided to cancel 10+2 HP board examinations for this year in line with the CBSE. HP Board of School Education will devise a formula for awarding marks to the students in line with the CBSE. In case some students are not satisfied with the results, they will be allowed to appear in a special examination to be conducted once the situation is conducive for the same. Paddy and wheat procurement from the farmers at minimum support price MSP has set new records. In the ongoing Kharif marketing season, over 805 lakh metric tons of paddy has been procured by the government agencies, registering an increase of nearly 10% compared to the procurements in corresponding period last year. Procurement of wheat in the ongoing Rabi marketing season of 2021-22 has also surpassed all previous records. With outstanding procurement of nearly 414 lakh metric tons of wheat, an increase of over 12% has been witnessed compared to the corresponding period last year. Central Food and Public Distribution Ministry has informed that these procurements have benefited over 1,65 lakh farmers in the country, with MSP payments of around 2,33,000 crore rupees to them. The ministry has also informed that the government agencies have also procured over 7,51,000 metric tons of pulses and oil seeds on MSP so far in the current Rabi and Kharif marketing season.
Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra has said that the Election Commission leaves no stone unturned to conduct an inducement-free elections in the country. Speaking exclusively to AIR News, Mr. Chandra asserted that a multi-layered system is established during the elections to check distribution of money, liquor or freebies to the voters. He added that in the recently concluded assembly elections to the 5 states, the Commission seized cash, narcotics, liquor and freebies amounting to over 1,000 crore rupees.
जो भी चुनाव हो ये इंड्यूसमेंट फ्री हो, किसी प्रलोभन में हमारा कोई भी मतदाता ना आ पाए और धन का दुरुपयोग पूर्णतः रोका जाए। हर क्षेत्र में हम लोग एक एक्सपेंडिचर ऑब्जर्वर की नियुक्ति करते हैं, जो कि एक सीनियर ऑफिसर्स होते हैं और वो एक दूसरे प्रदेश से आते हैं जो वहां के नहीं होते हैं, वहां पहुंचते हैं और उनके अंडर में भी असिस्टेंट एक्सपेंडिचर ऑब्जर्वर भी होते हैं, जो कि हर चीज पे बड़ी पैनी नजर रखते हैं। जो भी कैंडिडेट रैली करते हैं या जो भी गाड़ियों का यूज करते हैं, उनकी परमिशन सही दी गई है नहीं दी गई है, उसकी रैली में कितना खर्चा हुआ वो दिखाया गया गया है, नहीं दिखाया गया है। कोई इस तरह का रुपया कहीं पे जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होने वाला है या कहीं शराब डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होने वाली है, उन पर नजर रखी जाती है और उनको डिफरेंट एजेंसियों के माध्यम से सीज करवाया जाता है।
The News Services Division of All India Radio will broadcast the second part of the exclusive interview with Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra tonight at 9:15 p.m. on our special program Spotlight. This can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies. The first part of the interview was aired yesterday, and the interview will also be available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on Air Official. You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says multiple benefits of clean energy should reach agriculture sector, releases roadmap for development of ethanol sector. Income Tax Department to launch its new e-filing portal www.incometax.gov.in tomorrow. India achieves a major landmark in vaccination against COVID-19. More than 23 crore doses administered. Himachal Pradesh government cancels 10+2 HP board exams. Government issues one last notice to Twitter to comply with new IT rules. Monsoon arrives in Maharashtra. IMD says conditions favourable for its further enhancement. Global terror funding watchdog FATF retains Pakistan on enhanced follow-up list. India calls for strong and aligned international cooperation to combat challenge of fugitive economic offenders and assets. G7 countries reach a landmark deal to back global minimum tax of 15% on multinational companies. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer enter fourth round at French Open. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे।
Government has issued a notice to Twitter giving it one last chance to immediately comply with new IT rules. Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology warned that failure to adhere to the norms will lead to the platform losing exemption from liability under the IT Act. The ministry said that Twitter's refusal to comply with the rules demonstrated the microblogging site's lack of commitment and efforts towards providing a safe experience for the people of India on its platform. Government said despite being operational in India for more than a decade, it is beyond belief that Twitter Inc. has doggedly refused to create a mechanism that will enable the people of India to resolve their issues on the platform in a timely and transparent manner and through fair processes. Southwest monsoon has arrived in Maharashtra, bringing showers in some coastal parts of the state. Indian Meteorological Department said the monsoon is progressing as expected. It has reached Harnai port in coastal Ratnagiri district and its actual line is spread till Sholapur and some parts of Marathwada, some parts of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. It is expected to bring showers to these regions. IMD said conditions are favourable for further advancement of the monsoon.
Heavy rains are reported across Kerala with the onset of monsoon. This is expected to continue for the next few days. Met Department has forecast gusty winds at the speed of 40 to 50 kilometers in Kerala and Lakshadweep coasts on 8th and 9th of this month. Hence, fishermen along these coasts are prohibited from venturing into the sea. Yellow alert has been declared in 9 districts. Minister of State in Prime Minister's Office Dr. Jitendra Singh has called for a strong and aligned international cooperation to combat the challenge of fugitive economic offenders and assets. He said, India has made it clear that the world is presently combating another serious emerging challenge of fugitive economic offenders and assets which flee across national jurisdictions. Dr. Jitendra Singh was addressing a special session of UN General Assembly on challenges and measures to fight corruption. He called for a strong international cooperation on the return of persons and assets sought for such offences consistent with international obligations and domestic legal systems. Dr. Singh conveyed India's appreciation to all the countries who are taking this fight ahead in the right direction by intensifying efforts, sustaining political commitment and decisive action at all levels against preventing and combating corruption by way of endorsing the United Nations Political Declaration. He said India provides mutual legal assistance to widest possible extent and it has strengthened its domestic law and widened the scope for international cooperation.
Asia Pacific Group APG of Global Terror Funding Watchdog FATF has retained Pakistan on enhanced follow-up list. According to media reports, Islamabad will continue to report back to Asia Pacific Group on money laundering on the country's progress to strengthen its implementation of anti-money laundering and combating financing terror measures. Pakistan was put on the grey list by the Paris-based Financial Action Task Force FATF in June 2018 and the country has been struggling to come out of it. The Asia Pacific Group APG is a regional affiliate of the FATF. The second follow-up report on mutual evaluation of Pakistan released by the APG also downgraded the country on one criteria. Pakistan is now compliant or largely compliant with 31 out of 40 FATF recommendations. Group of 7, G7 of the world's richest nations have reached a landmark deal to back a global minimum tax of at least 15% on multinational companies. G7 finance ministers meeting in London also agreed that the biggest companies should pay tax where they generate sales and not just where they have a physical presence. The G7 ministers said they will commit to a global minimum tax of at least 15% on a country-by-country basis. We commit to reaching an equitable solution on the allocation of taxing rights, with market countries awarding taxing rights on at least 20% of profit exceeding a 10% margin for the largest and most profitable multinational enterprises, the agreement added. The ministers also agreed to move towards making companies declare their environmental impact in a more standard way so that investors can decide more easily whether to fund them. The accord, which could form the basis of a global pact next month, is aimed at ending a decade-long race to the bottom in which countries have competed to attract corporate giants with ultra-low tax rates and exemptions.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called upon G7 leaders to make a commitment to vaccinate the entire world against COVID-19 by the end of 2022 when they meet in Britain next week. Mr. Johnson will host the first in-person summit in almost 2 years of G7 leaders. British PM said that vaccinating the world by the end of next year will be the single greatest feat in medical history. He called on his fellow G7 leaders to join UK to end the terrible pandemic. The leaders of US, France, Italy, Japan, Germany, European Union and Canada will join Mr. Johnson for the 3-day summit in Cornwall, southwest England, which begins on Friday next week. It will be the first overseas trip for US President Joe Biden since he took office in January. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, in London for the finance ministers' meeting, said it was urgent for the richest nations to promote vaccinations in poorer countries that could not afford to buy them. She also repeated the US position that patent rights should be removed for the vaccines and said they were doing everything they could to address supply chain problems that were preventing a build-up of shots in other parts of the world. Himalayas are among the most ecological fragile landscapes in the world. Risks from climate change and other anthropogenic factors such as unplanned developmental activities and mass tourism are affecting the very core of the Himalayan way of life. With a core mandate to preserve the environment of the cold desert of Changthang, people planted more than 7 lakh saplings under Go Green, Go Organic project and also started farming. Our correspondent has filed this report.
The eastern part of Ladakh, Changthang, are venturing into agriculture. The local communities are known for practicing pastoral nomadism. With recent changes leaving their animal herding practices, people have now started taking up agriculture, pushing a complete collapse of the social cohesion structure, traditional knowledge and practices. Many youths are now engaged as labor wagers and in tourism-allied sectors. In 2014, His Holiness Drigung Kyabgon Chesang Rinpoche Pache initiated a project Go Green, Go Organic. The director of Go Green, Go Organic, Mr. Namgyal Durbuk, shared about the objectives of the project.
इस हॉलीनेस जी का मकसद ये है कि धरती को बचाने के लिए हमें जल्द से जल्द और ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्लांटेशन लगाने की जरूरत है। अभी हमें पानी का कम होने का बहुत संभावना है। हमारा ग्लेशियर दिन ब दिन मेल्ट हो रहा है, इसलिए गो ग्रीन गो ऑर्गेनिक और गेहूं वाला मिलके 7 लाख प्लांटेशन लगा दिया है। आप सब भी अपने आसपास में जितना हो सके प्लांटेशन लगाए और अपने धरती को बचाए।
Their aim is to encourage local youth, acknowledge local lifestyles and economics rather than competing for temporary or unsustainable job options. Chetan Tashi for AIR News from Leh Ladakh.
In the French Open tennis, defending champion Rafael Nadal and world number 1 Novak Djokovic stormed into the men's singles 4th round yesterday. King of clay, Nadal's 103rd win at the French Open put him on top of the list of most men's singles match victories at a single Grand Slam. Spaniard Nadal defeated England's Cameron Norrie 6-3, 6-3, 6-3, while Djokovic outclassed Lithuania's Rikardas Berankis 6-1, 6-4, 6-1 in the third round. Nadal will now face seeded 18th Italian 19-year-old Jannik Sinner, who defeated Sweden's Mikael Ymer. Djokovic's next opponent will be rising Italian teenager Lorenzo Musetti, who upset compatriot Marco Cecchinato in 5 sets to reach the last 16 on his Grand Slam debut. Roger Federer has reached the last 16 by defeating Germany's Dominik Kepper 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, 7-5. The 39-year-old 20-time Grand Slam champion lacked his usual zip against the tenacious Kepper, but slogged his way to the victory. Number 5 seed Stefanos Tsitsipas came back after losing first set to beat John Isner and enter the 4th round. In the women's draw, defending champion Iga Swiatek overcame a sluggish start to book her place in the last 16 with a 7-6, 6-0 victory over Estonian Anna Kontaveit. 5th seed Elina Svitolina of Ukraine became the latest big name to exit the tournament after she was beaten 6-3, 6-2 by unseeded Czech Barbora Krejcikova in the third round. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital Delhi will see a generally cloudy sky with light rain. The minimum temperature was 25 degrees and the maximum will go up to 41 degrees. Mumbai will have partly cloudy sky. Minimum was 26, maximum will be around 33. Chennai will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Temperature will vary between 27 and 36 degrees. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky. Minimum was 29, maximum will go up to 38. Jammu will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy. Minimum was 24, maximum will be 38. Leh will have partly cloudy sky, minimum maximum will be between 7 and 20. Gilgit will have mainly clear sky, temperature will be between 18 and 37 degrees.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Capital to ease more curbs from Monday is the lead in the Hindustan Times. The paper adds that metro services to resume with 50% capacity, markets and malls can reopen on odd-even basis, though night curfew will continue till 14th of June. Last notice penal action will follow, government tells Twitter, is the lead story in the Indian Express. Covishield more effective than Covaxin is the lead in the Tribune. The paper adds that it produces higher level of antibodies even though both shots elicited a good immune response. India opposes COVID jab passport plan at G7 meet is the lead story in the Pioneer. Terms it discriminatory given just 3% Indians fully vaccinated, adds the paper.
And now before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says multiple benefits of clean energy should reach agriculture sector. Releases roadmap for development of ethanol sector. Income Tax Department to launch its new e-filing portal www.incometax.gov.in tomorrow. India achieves a major landmark in vaccination against COVID-19, more than 23 crore doses administered. Himachal Pradesh government cancels 10+2 HP board exams. Government issues one last notice to Twitter to comply with new IT rules. Monsoon arrives in Maharashtra. IMD says conditions favorable for its further advancement. Global terror funding watchdog FATF retains Pakistan on enhanced follow-up list. India calls for strong and aligned international cooperation to combat challenge of fugitive economic offenders and assets. G7 countries reach a landmark deal to back global minimum tax of 15% on multinational companies. And in tennis, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer enter fourth round at the French Open. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.